Six years ago today, I got married. But 6 months ago, almost to the day, I walked out on that marriage, taking my then 2-year-old daughter with me, moving out of our home and moving forward with our lives. It was my own momentum and moving forward moment, and as anyone who's been separated will know, it wasn't a decision I took overnight, nor one to be taken lightly. And yet, so many people stay in marriages or relationships that make them unhappy and unfulfilled. In keeping and retaining their marriage vows, they end up breaking potential promises to themselves to live a life full of love and a life really worth living. But although this is a TED Women Talk, I'm not going to spend the next 10 minutes man-bashing or ex-husband bashing. Be relieved at that. In fact, I love men. I grew up with 5 boisterous and very protective brothers and a loving father who gave me cuddles and kisses even as I grew into an adult and later as a dying man. I've been really lucky to have had other men in my life who have been respectful, supportive, inspirational, and hardworking. But I have to say that the women that I choose to have in my life, lots of whom are here today, thank you girls, are also just the same. There are so many contradictions and juxtapositions that come with speaking at a TED Women Talk. I mean, I want to talk about things that happen to women, stuff that affects women, and things that women are great at. But I also want to avoid seeing women as a special interest group. We are half the human population, after all. The only special interest that we really have is our ability and the fact that we're physiologically built and genetically programmed to be able to foster unborn life and to give birth to it, something that, so far, no man that I know can do. We've made strides in the Western world anyway to be able to show that we can achieve pretty much anything that men can achieve. And although we don't always feel it, we have the potential to show that we are equal. And yet there are constant expectations and obligations placed on women as mothers, sisters, daughters, wives, bosses, or employees. Women constantly struggle and hustle to get through a life that many men simply breeze through. It's all relative, but even for an outwardly successful woman, there's usually a daily struggle every day with childcare, employee care, and partner care. And this struggle isn't just physical, it's also emotional. Women want to be simultaneously strong yet sympathetic, relatable yet real, feminine yet feminist. We're a whole bunch of contradictions. Can I have some water, please, Connor? Reconciling the contradictions of being a woman is so much easier when you understand that you're human and not just a woman. I've seen strong characters who just happen to be female, thank you, Katie, who just happen to be female, who are frustrated at not being fully understood. In fact, they go so far as to call themselves crazy. And on that note, we as women are very, very good at negative self-labeling. But they need to be reminded that people in general are pretty crazy, and women just happen to be people too. And with so many contradictions, it's easy to retract into ourselves, to self-criticize, and to harbor low self-esteem and self-worth. From the moment we are born, we begin to die. You could see this as a negative and a melancholy journey. And I'd argue that some people actually seem to retire pretty much at birth. Or you could grasp life and live it really to the full. Safety seekers create havens where no harm can come. But you come to realize that the place where no harm can come is the place where nothing else can come. And that's a very lonely place. Sometimes we're forced in life to stop and take stock. Personal illness or that of a loved one can really stop you in your tracks. A death of someone close to you, or in my case, a baby that was part of me, stopped me in my tracks on Easter Sunday in 2011. Woo. Stillbirth, it's stillbirth, you know, happens to thousands of women in the UK and Ireland each year. And yet for me, despite the insurmountable pain at the time, it ended up giving me a really great and contradictory gift of life. It was another momentum and moving forward moment for me. This horrible tragedy taught me, more than anything, to love life and indeed to live life with gusto. So what if death, like so many other events, were perceived as one of life's great changers, the ultimate spur to embrace a life better lived. And isn't it time that we really stopped and appreciated death for its power to put the focus back on the living? After Rosie's birth and death, I had a heightened sense of my own mortality, and I couldn't wait to get out there and grab life again. But I joined a bit of a rat race, and I was existing in a bit of a high-speed, fast lane without enjoying the ride. My rolling stone was gathering no moss, and I quickly became aware that there was more to life, or rather, that there was more to living. We live in a time of instant gratification. So many things are just a click away. No waiting, no anticipation, and very little time for savouring anything. We rattle towards the future and towards short and medium-term goals, constantly ticking boxes on to-do lists and building our own traction and speed. We move on to the next item on life's agenda. But beauty, happiness, contentment all come from finer details which we must slow down or even stop in order to see and feel. That's in family, in work, and also in our personal relationships. And there's nothing nicer than having an embrace with someone, be that a partner, a parent, a friend, or a child, and feeling their touch, hearing their breathing, and sensing their heartbeat, or even smelling a faint scent. But as Eckhart Tolle said in his book, The Power of Now, we must focus on the journey, not on the destination. Joy is found not in finishing the activity, but in doing it. Our souls know our final destination. They act as our inner GPS. But in order to hear their instruction, we must still our minds. And as some of the other girls have said today, stop. Making your train stop at the station is an amazingly simple trick for reflecting on life. Making sure you're right, or in the right place, or content before pushing onwards or changing direction. It allows you to enjoy life's journey and really be in the moment with those that you're spending it with. It also allows a stronger build-up of traction than hurtling along at rocket speeds. There's a really great Latin expression, festina lente, an oxymoron, which was a motto of Augustus. It means hurry slowly and encourages proceeding quickly, but with calm and caution. It's very similar to the expression, more haste, less speed, or as my mum said, less haste, more speed, and I think my mum was right. There's also a really fantastic but similar Swahili expression, pole pole, which is often used by Kenyan guides taking Westerners up Mount Kilimanjaro so that they get used to the thin air little by little. So I'm not all for momentum, moving forward, building traction and gaining speed at all. In fact, I'm all for stopping, slowing down and reflecting on life. These days, I'm so much more pole pole, and I think I'm better for it too. Anyone who's lucky enough to have eaten at a Michelin star restaurant will know that every flavour should be savoured. It's not an experience to be rushed. Mouthfuls should be taken one by one, and each ingredient or flavour combination explored and really enjoyed. Wine, of course, is optional. And while we're on the subject of food, let's talk about our tummies, or rather, our guts. Gut instinct, gut feeling, sick to the stomach, fire in your belly, all of these expressions are centered around our tummies and our solar plexus, which is where we carry most of our stress. Gut instinct is one of the single most important factors in decision-making in most business owners and senior business executives that I know, myself included. So when you're pulling that train into the station, check your ego at the door and use your gut instinct as your guidance system. I'm going to take another drink of water, excuse me. This is thirsty work, who knew? Now. So it's a great marker to know if we're doing the right thing, as I said, or just knowing if you're in the right place. Gut instinct can also guide you through life's mistakes. It enables you to put mistakes under your feet and use them as stepping stones towards progress. In business, women that I know who've succeeded have harnessed their passion to their emotions. They harness the left-hand side of their brain to the right, the creative to the logic. And to assess any situation, in my opinion, you need both the heart and the smart. Follow your feelings, trust your gut, and you'll move forward and evolve. Failures can teach us great lessons. Struggles and mistakes give you strength to carve out a new person. Should we navigate adversity? No, not at all. Deal with it, let it change us, adapt us, and shape us into the people that we are and the people that we become. That negative, draining friend, the jealous, abusive partner, or a grumpy boss who chips away at you day by day, let their chipping carve you into a new person, make your character stronger, and give you the strength to retain your self-respect and walk away from their issues. Adversity can make us bitter or better. It can make us or it can break us, or it can make us the victim or the victor. It's your choice, and only you can decide what to make of your own adversity, whatever that might be. There's a great story in German mythology that I love, and it's about 3 stonecutters in the Middle Ages. And someone asks each of the 3 of them in turn what they're doing. The first stonecutter says, I'm breaking rocks. The second stonecutter says, I'm earning my living. And the third one says, I'm building a cathedral. And the third one gets my vote. It's about how you perceive yourself and how other people perceive you. Confidence is perceived. Sometimes you just have to act like you know what you're doing and fake it till you make it. I'm kind of doing that here too. But even those who make it aren't always sure. Looking at momentum as a law of physics, and I know Deirdre mentioned that too, it comes from a buildup of mass and speed. So why is it so rare that we as women help each other and support each other? We're getting better, of course, and events like this are amazing for doing that. But we need to speak more often with a collective and a collaborative voice, promote our peers, share stories to support, and connect to consolidate. Connections and real social interaction bring us away from the brink of a lonely world. I mean, I'm not denying that so many people have gained so much interaction from the internet, but I'd argue that almost a whole generation of our young people have lost connectivity with the cost of being that hugely important interrelations with family and friends. Our kids are texting more than they talk. And I'm not against innovation. In fact, I'm quite excited to see what innovation will bring to my daughter as she grows up and what I might see while I'm still here. For women, technology has opened up so many doors in business. From the women and the mums working at their kitchen tables with their laptops selling all sorts, to the flexible working hours for CEOs who are breaking glass ceilings around the world. I'm inspired by lots of women in my industry, but I particularly like Victoria Beckham's story. She struggled to be respected as a pop star, and let's face it, she didn't do very much to prove us wrong there. But I'm mostly inspired by her struggle to be recognized as a credible fashion designer when she launched her own label in 2008 to much skepticism, and in fact, some would say scorn, to becoming head of one of the most respected fashion houses in the world today. In the first quarter of 2012, her business was worth more than £60 million, and today her handbags alone sell for £18,000 each. Can't afford one yet. She's retail outlets right across the world and a massive, massive customer base. You could say that she wasn't an underdog starting out, so why champion her, or why be inspired by her? She had the wealth and the celebrity to kickstart any career. But the great story here is that Victoria Beckham successfully made the transition from what was actually a laughingstock to a sometimes tolerated novelty designer to a globally respected, talented designer and a businesswoman. Her brand sales are down to the appeal of the designs themselves. Her dresses are fantastically well constructed and not the celebrity. So the girl who couldn't dance, couldn't sing, and never frickin' smiles did okay. And like Victoria, as Sarah said, I work in the world of fashion and fashion events. Now, not at her level, of course, but all the same, it's a very, very fast-changing world where new is good and where fashion and fads come and go. The concept of so last season is constantly evolving. But looking back to the freaks and geeks and the beards and weirds of the 80s and 90s who were in movies like Mean Girls and Clueless, those guys were the nerds in those days. But today, they're the super cool guys. They're at the forefront of modern culture, and a massive part of their collective ethos is about being in the moment, living in the now. I think they've got a bit of the pole-pole in them too. But for all their desire for newness, global leaders in fashion are more often these days seen looking back at history and heritage, embracing the past to move forward with their own fashion futures. There's little to no copyright law in fashion design per se, so quite often the top design houses create a look which will filter down to the masses in a top-down way. Fast fashion giants like H&M, Zara, Topshop do well from this, but more and more top designers are visiting vintage stores and rebooting it with a modern twist. They're taking street design and bringing it back to the top-end catwalk. They're engaging in some festina lente all of their own. Sorry, I think that's me. Maybe it's my alarm to be here. Or to go, or the alarm for short course gin. So many other industries are doing the same. And it's possibly no coincidence that most of today's speakers have talked about moving forward, who've all talked about moving forward and gaining speed, but they've all referred to the importance of stopping and slowing down. So my lesson today is that we all need to do this too. My takeaways then are to do what you're meant to do in life. And when you do that, it will feel right. Your gut will tell you so. Keep looking though, and don't settle until you find it. And as with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you do. To help you along the way, be sure to slow down and stop every so often. Check in with yourself, see how you're doing. As I think Heather said, touch your heart, see what makes you happy. There's no reason not to follow your heart, and the only cost of not following your heart is spending the rest of your life wishing that you had. That's my takeaway today. Share things, your happiness, your passion, your success, your feelings, and your love. And in giving, live in the moment and live in the now. Thank you.